In the words of JP Nodi, I'm tempted to say, "Us evening, everybody." Good evening, everybody. I'd like to share with you our research findings that we've had, of which we've had many. But I'd like to share two things with you which is relevant to tonight, and also to indicate how important tonight is. In the next 30 years' time, there'll be no need for people in the industry of technology, because technology itself, through machinery and robots, would have taken over the world. Now, robots and machinery is knowledge-based. And so all the knowledge that machines have will do all the work in the future, which leaves very little work for us to do if we are going to continue with knowledge-based education. And so our research has shown us that the important thing for us to be learning is values-based education. So in that, what I'm saying is that if we have values-based education, the focus would be on sport, would be on arts, would be on cultural activities. Because our robots don't have emotion. Our computers don't have emotion. And that's the one thing that we need to be focusing on if we want a successful future for our children. And that means we must look at sport, arts and culture as an investment in the lives of our children. And we have been neglecting that at the pace that technology is going. So in our research, we are saying that the important thing for us to do in the lives of our children is to emphasize that sport, arts and culture is not just a recreational activity any longer. It is in fact an industry. And in that industry, we need to develop youth that's going to be creative. For too long, we've only focused on the left side of the brain, which is the logical side. We need to be focusing on the right side of the brain as well, which speaks to the creativity of our youth. And if we stimulate the creativity of our youth, we're going to have people that are brilliant artists and brilliant musicians and brilliant sport people. So in our research further, we've looked at exposing our youth to 10,000 hours of the same activity. And if we expose them to 10,000 hours of the same activity, they would master that activity. And so tonight, when you see Toby singing here, he is part of the program that looks at how do we develop our youth from a young age already, so that they can be exposed to 10,000 hours of activity. So when Toby is 18, 19, 20 years old, then he's going to be that superstar that we spoke about earlier. So that's the one side of the research that we're talking about. How important it is to stimulate the brain and stimulate our youth so that they get involved in sport, arts and cultural activities. And that is exactly what we see here this evening. The other side of the research is showing, through our National Sport and Recreation Plan and the white paper on sport, that our nation is focusing on an active nation as well as a winning nation. Now, if we look at our nation, we are certainly an active nation, and we're growing to be more and more an active nation. But are we a winning nation? We can only become a winning nation if we develop a winning mentality, if we develop a winning culture. And tonight adds to us developing that winning culture. We don't have it yet. We are busy working towards it. That's why about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was watching the TV and I'm looking at us at Wimbledon and we end up second place. We can host the World Cup, and we host it well, because we are recreational by nature. However, we need to change our culture if we want to start winning. And our culture needs to be developed into a winning culture. And if we can develop a winning culture for our sport people, it's in fact a winning culture for life. So what becomes important is that we work on the subconscious of our people. Our research has shown that the subconscious of our people have been socialized in a way that speaks to us being citizens that are still filled with lots of history. And we in fact need to fill our subconscious with a future that speaks to how beautiful a country we are. The subconscious that speaks to how fantastic a set of people we are. A subconscious that speaks to a culture of the amount of potential we have as a country. And a subconscious that speaks to that we are the best in the world if we put our minds to it, and if we change our mindset. And that requires our youth to be developed by our coaches in a manner that speaks to the importance of sport, arts and culture and what it can do for us, and a nation that enjoys the respect of everybody else out there. And tonight indicates our first steps towards developing that culture that's going to make us the world beaters of the future. Thank you very much for what you are doing for our athletes and our coaches. Thank you, Cape Winelands.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Hendricks. Let's give him another big round of applause for Mr. Paul Hendricks. Let's put our hands together for